Steve McMullen. I run the BI team at Stack Overflow. Before joining the BI team, I was on the marketing operations team. So this presentation is kind of a mix of both of those backgrounds. This is my coworker, Adam. He's the director of finance. He's the one who got me hooked on Looker, helped me create this presentation, and then bailed on me last second. So if anything goes wrong, definitely this guy's fault. All right, so what are we going to talk about? I'm going to start off with a little bit of an intro of Stack Overflow, and then dig into the meat of the presentation, which is marketing data and how we visualize it. All right, so I usually, when I say I work at Stack Overflow, I get one of two responses. One of them is someone who has no idea what we do, and even after I explain it, they're still a little lost. And then the other one is developers who use the site fairly frequently and are very excited and want to talk to me about it. So for the camp that doesn't know what we do, here is a very long quote from a recent Quartz article that my VP of marketing really likes. But to shorten it up a bit, we're a question and answer platform for software developers. We have over 60 million unique visitors come each month to ask questions and get their answers for their coding problems. Now, if you already knew what Stack Overflow was, I get this question a lot. How do you make money? So we have three main business units that are all circled around developer engagement. The first is Stack Overflow for Enterprise and Stack Overflow for Teams, which is essentially a privately hosted version of Stack Overflow for companies. Sometimes companies have developers who can't ask their questions and answers publicly, and they still need to figure out how to get their daily jobs done. So they have a private version of Stack Overflow. Enterprise is for the larger corporations, and Teams is for startups and small groups. Next, we have Talent, which is a two-sided marketplace for developer recruitment. We have a lot of developers on the site, some of whom may want jobs, and then we have a lot of companies looking to hire developers. So that is it's a good match. And then finally, developer engagement, which is all things developer engagement facing. So ads, contests, sponsored sites, everything like that. So hopefully this didn't feel like too much of an ad, but if it did and it worked, feel free to talk to me after. But I wanted to provide some context of what the rest of the presentation will show and where I'm coming from. So we're a B2B business, and our marketing team is focused on generating leads for the sales reps in these specific business units to bring new customers on board. All right, on to the meat of the presentation. So when I think about marketing data, I often think of it in relation to the customer journey. So the customer journey for me is interest to order. Interest is the first time that a company hears of your product or service, whether it's through an ad, a piece of content, coming to your site. And then the end of the customer journey is, of course, ordering and completing a purchase. So the interest to order process is often represented in a funnel format. Every marketing team loves their funnel. And I want to walk through a couple of the standard steps throughout the funnel. So at the top, you have interest. You have a new lead that came in. The next step is when the marketing team calls all those leads and then qualifies a certain amount of them to hand off to their sales team. So we call this the marketing qualified or MQL step. The next step is when the sales team gets these leads and decides which of them they actually want to work. And so we call that the sales accepted lead step, or SAL. Then we have once they start talking to those leads, they're going to whittle down some of those into leads that actually become opportunities, and we call that the sales qualified step, or SQL. And then finally, you have order at the bottom. So I walk through the steps because it's very important to define everything you're doing when you're working with marketing data. So we defined every step of the funnel. The next step, especially for BI people, is to define all the connectors. So at the top of the funnel, we use a combination of Google Analytics and different ad platforms that talk to each other using a unique identifier. After that, when we reach the marketing qualified step, we use a marketing automation tool. We use Hubspot, and it connects that top of the funnel data to the marketing step. And then finally, when we hand off the lead to a sales rep, it goes into our sales CRM, which is Salesforce. It's really important to understand the connections between all these different tools and their databases so that you'll be able to take an order once they've completed and track it all the way up to the top of where they first heard of your company. And then finally, we have defining marketing attribution. So this is a bit of a word of wise before we hop into marketing attribution. I've dealt in the past with marketing teams that define their own attribution and don't have a good handshake with the sales team over what that attribution is. And that often leads to some confusion if the marketing team is presenting data and saying, oh, we were attributed X percentage of the sales deals, and they all came from marketing, the sales team often looks confused. So sitting down and having the whole process of defining every step and the attribution model and having a handshake between the marketing and sales team is really important to make sure that everything goes seamlessly once you start gathering data and reporting on it. All right, so you have every step of the funnel, and now you need to define marketing attribution. If you Google marketing attribution models right now, I'm sure you'll find millions of articles that talk about the pros and cons of all these different attribution models. I've listed some of the standard ones, first touch, last touch, linear. These are all great models and have their time and place and are very useful to certain people. But what I want to talk about specifically is creating your own custom models. We found this really helpful, so I wanted to dig into this a little bit. So for us, the way we thought about marketing attribution is each campaign has a specific purpose. And we want to measure the campaign's purpose and see how it did against that purpose, not just in one specific model. So to dig in that a little bit further, we often think of our campaigns at which part of the funnel they interact with. So we have top of funnel campaigns that generate new leads that we hope generate new accounts and new business deals. We have middle of the funnel campaigns that are marketing activities that happen during the sales cycle. It's a lot of account-based marketing. And then finally, we have bottom of funnel campaigns in which we have campaigns that are specific to making companies renew more. So for us, we define marketing attribution by each of these campaigns and what they were supposed to do. So we looked at new deals and we said, okay, can we trace this back to a new account, to a new lead, to a new marketing campaign? And then from there, it was a very specific attribution model. So we did the same with middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, and we found this to be very useful in understanding the exact performance of the campaign. That campaign could have brought in new leads that closed and they didn't follow the specific steps we wanted it to, and that's okay, but we only want to understand, did that campaign complete what its actual purpose was? So we have every step of the funnel defined, we have our attribution model, everyone's agreed upon it, and now is the actual fun part of creating visualizations and gathering the data. So I'm going to walk through a number of different visualizations. All of these are made with fake data. It was just a bunch of table calculations, but all of them are visualizations that come standard in Looker. So we start off with our funnel, which is a very popular visualization when it comes to marketing data. This is a very simple one. It's just counting leads to MQLs to SALs. And what's great about a funnel is that you're able to understand the entire campaign in one kind of snapshot. We have conversion rates on the side over here. And what's great about the funnel visualization in Looker is you can choose whether you're showing the counts in the middle or the side or the conversion rates, if you're converting from one step to the next or from the bottom to the top. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in how you want to portray your funnel. So after the funnel, something that I found very useful specifically for our team is to understand conversion rates over time. So here we have two different conversion rate lines. One is from new leads to MQLs, and the other is from MQLs to SALs. So oftentimes, our marketing team gets really caught up in like a very specific funnel, and they're like, oh wow, we have so many leads, they're coming in, they're great. But we want to look at that in relation to how it compares to past funnels. So this really helps us understand the health of the funnel over time. Specifically when certain things happen, as you can see, there's a giant drop in conversion rate, which is obviously fake. You can't go to zero randomly. But this would be a great warning sign for the team. Okay, what happened here? What campaigns are not performing correctly? And this helps them understand their performance over time. So for marketing managers, we found this visualization very useful to understanding a lot of campaigns happening at once. So these are essentially kind of mini funnels. It's showing, I think, MQLs to SALs, and it's showing a conversion rate. And what's great about this visualization in terms of marketing people looking at all their campaigns is it helps them compare everything in one snapshot. So over here, all the way to the left, you have a campaign that's bringing in a ton of leads and has a pretty decent conversion rate. But in the middle, it's hard to see here, but that campaign with a ton of leads is converting at 44%. And then we have one in the middle here that's converting at 66%. So a marketing manager can look at that and say, hey, what's going on here? What can we dig into? Can we provide more effort and time and money into this campaign, hopefully keep that conversion rate and boost the number of leads going into that top of the funnel? And then finally, visualizing marketing attribution. So we have a couple different things here. On the left-hand side, we have single values that show the number of opportunities. show the dollar value that is attributed to this marketing campaign, and the average deal size. For the dollar value, what we've done is create a percentage to goal. Our marketing team is very goal-oriented, so we oftentimes create these type of percentage to goals so they understand, is that campaign performing to what it's supposed to do. This chart is a little confusing to see, and the green's a little tough to see, but it's a bar chart showing spend with a line graph showing the ROI for campaigns. So this is another one of those charts that's really great for marketing managers to understand all their campaigns at once, specifically around spend and what was brought in through attribution. So on the left-hand side, you see a campaign with a moderate amount of spend with a huge amount of ROI. That's really awesome. And then throughout the middle of the chart here, you see a campaign with a ton of spend and a very little amount of ROI. So this is not great. This is it's a time for the marketing manager to call this out, understand what's going on with this campaign, see if they could shift some spend over the campaign all the way to the left, because that's performing really well. So you have all the steps of your funnel, you have your attribution model, you've set up all your visualizations, and here's the really fun part to me, which is predicting and forecasting for the future. So oftentimes a marketing manager will come up to me and say, hey, I'm about to run this campaign, I want to bring in $1 million. I'm like, great, we can create some goals and set up every step of your funnel so you can understand what you should be doing and what you should be seeing. So we take the amount that they want to bring in, and we understand attribution sales stats over time. So based off the average sale price of similar campaigns, we know how many opportunities we need to bring in. And based off the sales cycle, we know how long those opportunities are probably going to take. And then with the win percentage, we can move up into the funnel and say, okay, well, if you want to close this many opportunities, you need to create this many. And then using those conversion rates that we saw over time, we could go all the way up to the top of the funnel. And so when that person comes to me and says, hey, I want to bring in $1 million, I could come back and say, well, you need to bring in 1,000 leads in order to get there.